we are making mud. So as he's scraping off the top of these banks, he's then going to replace some of it with nice soft soil that things can stick their beaks into. He's making the whole area just more interesting to water birds. So he's creating humps, creating hollows, creating some little pools, creating scrapes, creating some channels as well, and just making the whole area feel like somewhere that if you're a water bird you want to explore, because just around the next corner is going to be some food. The gradients need to be shallow, because if they're too steep and the water level drops a wee bit, then you've only got that amount of mud. Whereas if they're nice and shallow and the water level drops by the same amount, then you've got a much wider strip of mud. So that's why we go for the very shallow gradients. I have a special affinity with the mud. I managed to get caked in it even when most other people are still relatively clean looking. This area here is more fen-like than the area over there, so it's more pools of water, which are great for dragonflies, damselflies, water birds, ducks, everything. You've also got this wonderful edge habitat. That mosaic of habitat, when you're trying to make the most of a relatively small bit of land, a mosaic of different habitats maximizes the different numbers of plants, animals, everything that you can get into it. So yeah, habitat mosaic, they're the buzzwords. Our warden Dan actually spent an awful lot of time studying the past water levels of the site, and mapping them on a software package that he had, and looking at all the different amounts of spoil that would be created and where he could put them. So yeah, a heck of a lot of thought went into the design.
It's been a year now, and it's surpassed our wildest expectations, really. In terms of the birds we've had on it, it's made a huge difference to the reserve, and obviously that's had a knock-on effect for our visitors as well, because they've been able to see so much more than they would have done in the past. Previous to this scrape being put in, you'd come to the visitor centre or you'd come to this hide and you wouldn't necessarily see very much. There was lots of ground that was high and dry, steep-sided channels, and now we've got this magnificent kind of complex of shallow flooded pools and channels and lots of wet edge, and it's been teeming with birds. Over the winter after it was put in, we had a lot of unusual birds turn up. So we had a great white egret, which is not a bird we see very often. We had a green sandpiper, which isn't very unusual in the grand scheme of things, but for us here is not a bird we saw very much. So early on there were indications that this scrape was really going to work and start drawing the birds in. And it culminated in May in a black-winged stilt, which is an incredibly rare bird, and it was only the 13th ever record for Scotland. And also little ring plovers bred here for the first time. Very protected, very unusual. They do breed in central Scotland, but not very often, and to breed here is a fantastic achievement and a real endorsement of, you know, the quality of the habitat. Conservation work can be a bit strange because you almost have to make a mess to make it better sometimes. I mean, it's not finished yet, you know, it's still developing, but seeing that process has been fantastic, you know, really feels like we're achieving something. And seeing the difference it makes to wildlife and our visitors getting to see that is really special, actually.